Now it is.
All right, so if we can go ahead and take our seats. I now call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Senate to order. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move into first roll call.
Adams. Albers.
Here.
Armstrong. Arnoldi.
Here.
Belk. Bergston.
Here.
Bothwell.
Here.
Bowen. Brown.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
DeMarinville.
Here.
Dunfield. Esses.
Here.
Fang. Gammon.
Here.
Gillian King.
Here.
Grover.
Here.
Gupta. Hammond.
Here.
Harp. Heatherman.
Here.
Hildreth. Alec.
Here.
Derek Hildreth.
Here.
Huffman.
Here.
Jabin.
Here.
Carmali.
Here.
Kidd. King.
Here.
Kulkarni.
Here.
Leverett.
Here.
Mari.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Morgan.
Here.
Neatery.
Here.
Orth. Orzakowski.
Here.
Pelton.
Here.
Penny.
Here.
Riffle.
Here.
Roman.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Spellman.
Here.
Spencer. Sullivan.
Here.
Tile. Taylor. Thompson.
Here.
Chumlin.
Here.
Wessel.
Here.
Wilhelm.
Here.
Whitmer. And you'll get it done. All right, directors, real quick. Boyd, Clark, Cruz, Gertson,
Here.
Jennings,
Here.
Pick, Lundeen,
Here.
McIntosh, McKenzie, Minu, Picer, Sedlacek, Tuttle, Underwood, Valdez,
Here.
and Works. All right, last thing real quick, we'll move into interns. Almadani,
Here.
Booz,
Here.
Bruna,
Here.
Carr,
Here.
Colasico,
Here.
Colburn,
Here.
Galloway,
Here.
Glasscock,
Here.
Glessner, Gross, Heimerman,
Here.
Hines,
Here.
Hobbs,
Here.
Jonak,
Here.
Jones,
Here.
Kimsey,
Here.
Neasley,
Here.
Coleman,
Here.
Matos, Middleton,
Here.
Mohan,
Here.
Moore, Oxner, Peterson, Phillips,
Here.
Rice,
Here.
Quevedo, Schrader, Scott,
Here.
Sitek,
Here.
Slider, Wallace, and Willis. All right, we have 40 senators present, 8 senators excused, and 7 senators absent.
All right, with that, we'll now move into first open period. Our first open period speaker this evening is Gary Pratt, our Chief Information Officer.
Okay, let me really quickly reintroduce myself. I'm Gary Pratt. I'm the Chief Information Officer, so basically that means I run the information technology organization here on campus. And what I wanted to talk to you today, we've been going through a process to develop a K-State IT strategic plan, and so I am going to go through, we are sitting at about, what I'm presenting to you is what I would consider about a 75% plan. What we want to do is take this out on the road. You're actually my first test case for this to really talk through what we have, see if we heard you right, because we went out and did a lot of listening sessions and get your feedback into it. I realize you have a short period for a presentation, 15 minutes, and I've got a presentation that's probably a lot longer than that. So I'm going to try my best at speed talking here and get as fast through this as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and start off. I've been here for just over a year. I passed my 1-year anniversary on the 1st of October. It's been a year of learning, basically lots of listening sessions going out to campus. And then come May, we decided to have a fire in the Hale Library, which dumped about 400,000 gallons of water on my only data center on campus. So we've had some significant issues to deal with and lots of scrambling. We also have some major initiatives that the institution has taken on with budget modernization, strategic enrollment management, both of which have significant technology as a part of both those initiatives, and the ERP Exploratory Task Force, and as I'm talking about now, the IT Strategic Plan. I was asked to do a strategic plan by the president when he hired me and the provost at the time. My first question to them was, what do we want to do? Do we want to do a central IT strategic plan for IT, or do we want to have a K-State IT strategic plan? Well, the president said we want this to be strategic. We have to have it at the institutional level. So that kind of changed what we had to do. So we went out and we did a number of listening sessions. We had almost 20 focus groups, almost 20 key stakeholder interviews, and we had a web survey. Face-to-face, we had almost 250 people participate, and in the web survey, we had over 1,300 people participate and provide us information. We went through an analysis of that information over the summer. Because I want a K-State strategic plan, I did not want to just have my central IT directors be a part of that. So we invited 15 additional leaders from across campus, decentralized IT units, to be a part of it. So 25 people taking this on, spent 40 hours over the months of July and August analyzing the data that we have and coming up with the framework for what we're showing you right now. We brought it to all IT staff about a month ago, got their feedback, and that's what got us to what I consider 75–80%. So we talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. I won't go through this diagram in detail. What I will do is share this with your folks so they can share it back out to you and you can read through the details. But it really talks about what do we want to do with the strategic plan, where do we want to focus, and how do we make it a true living plan that we take from a strategic plan to a tactical plan and actually operational plan. When I do IT strategic planning, I aim for 3 years because my environment changes too quickly to really think beyond that. So what we're aiming for is getting into operational planning when we get into January. One thing I want to point out, we did come up with a vision. Notice we did not have a mission statement for IT. Part of that was we've been operating as a whole bunch of islands of IT. We haven't really been operating together, so we don't have a single mission. We have a whole bunch of missions for each of those islands. But this group came together and said, you know what, we are too disjointed, we have too much inefficiency, ineffectiveness, and standards issues, so we're conflicting in standards. So this group came together, as I said, it's 10 central IT directors and 15 decentralized IT leaders who decided we need to have a one unified IT community as we move forward. So I think this is a very, very key part of what we're doing. So I'll share the details of the vision when I share the presentation. Again, we have multiple goals here. We want to affirm our focus on K-staters. It's really customer-centric focus. Want people to be aware of what we're doing. We want to collaborate, and we want to provide critical services and tools. We want to lead an evolving IT community. Something I heard significantly is there's no professional development plans. We're being asked to do more with less. We're implementing things with half investments and not getting the level of training we need to do those. So what we want to do is be able to invest in the IT staff. We want to formalize governance. Governance, this body is a governance body. We want to formalize governance to really help us make major decisions without it being IT people who are making the decisions. We don't want to wear that black hat. We want a governance groups of institutional leaders that help us make decisions in specific areas. We want to enhance enterprise applications. And what that means, the big three is what I call them, enterprise resource planning system, but you know them as PACES. That's where you register. That's where you get your transcripts. That's where we put grades in for faculty, do schedules, things like that. But we also have finance in there. We have human resources systems in there. Talisma, your customer relationship management system that they used as you started coming in. K-State 360. There are a whole lot of these enterprise systems that we are focusing on and really need to shore up and make much more investment in being able to get these things working the way we need to. We need to enhance infrastructure. We have significant issues in a lot of the buildings. And I'm sure you've been in a few buildings. Anybody here go to classes in Waterfall? How long does it take from when you hit enter to actually have something happen if you're getting something off the internet? Quite a long time, right? We need to be able to bring this infrastructure up to a standard where you can have real-time access in these buildings. We have to be able to do this across more than 60% of the buildings aren't quite up to basic data specs. So we need to be able to do that. So we're working on a plan to get us where we need to be. Research enablement. Those who are in major research programs the researchers are left to their own devices right now to figure out how they do data storage, access, security, how they do high-performance computing. What we want to do is provide standard support for that, and we're working on something that we're going to be rolling out in the spring to help in that area. I want to talk about a few of the programs that we have. These align somewhat to the goals, but some of them cross goals. Communications was one of the strongest things that we heard was needed here. Communications both in sharing what we're doing, as well as getting feedback and input from you all as we move forward. So both sides of that, both directions are where we want to go in that arena. IT service delivery. We want to have a unified IT service catalog, a basic level of service and support that customers across campus, I know people twinge when I say customers in a higher ed environment, but we consider you our customers. We consider staff and faculty our customers. We need to provide that basic level of service and let people understanding how they can get access to that service. So we want to improve that service capability. We want to talk about the unified IT organization and governance. We actually, as I said, had 25 leaders from across campus say we need to work together. We're not saying everybody's reporting to Gary. What we are saying is we want to have standards that we're all following. We want to have processes. We want to be able to rely upon each other if we need expertise. Because we have almost 300 IT staff on campus. Less than half of them report to me. What we want to do is have a coordinated, concerted effort on how we move forward. Strategic infrastructure modernization. So we talked about the network upgrade. We have a data center issue. As I said, I dumped 400,000 gallons on my data center. We're running, we have systems up and running, but you can't add that much water to electronic components and not have issues. So we're working on a cloud first strategy where we're going to be moving everything out of the existing data center. 80–90% of it is going to go into cloud type solutions. And that'll give us disaster recovery, business continuity, the capability and ability to grow and change as the technology changes. We talked about high performance computing strategy. That was in the research piece that I was talking about in that goal. Distributed collaboration, meaning we are working amongst all of the IT teams to get things done rather than just looking at one group or another. Right now, the smaller islands of IT, they have to do the entire depth and breadth of IT. We want to be able to share the love, if you will, share the skills, share the capabilities, so it can be a lot more efficient and effective. Disaster recovery, business continuity, those became very high on our view when we had to deal with a data center that went completely south with that much water. So what we want to do is ensure that we can flip a switch and continue running without having any concerns like that face us as we move forward. Strategic enterprise applications. There's a whole lot of these. I don't need to go through all of them. But you use a lot of these. If you ever use Talismar, K-State 360, you use the Enterprise CRM for students. If you do registration and get class schedules and go for transcripts, that's what you get into for an enterprise resource planning system. We have an older one that's looking at being end of life. That's what a vendor term is within the next few years. So we want to plan ahead so we can replace it and get a modern 21st century application. Okay.
Time for the speakers expires. Is there a motion to extend? Intern Hines.
I move to extend time by 10 minutes.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Extend the speaker's time by 10 minutes. If there are no objections, you have 10 more minutes.
Thank you. So business intelligence analytics capability. We want to have informed decisions as we move forward. So right now we have disparate data systems. We want to bring them together in a data warehouse and provide very forward-thinking analytics on that and actually do predictive analytics so we can do things that can help with student success, with the operations of campus. Cybersecurity, you're all aware of this. If you participated in the October set of events that we did, we actually did a thing right before Halloween of the nature of cybersecurity issues. We now have a Chief Information Security Officer, so we're going to have a major plan to improve enterprise security and security of the data, security of you as users. User experience. We want it to, right now, there is a mobile app out there. We haven't done a whole lot of development on that. We want to be able to create a lot of capabilities in that mobile app. Be able to really work on transforming the learning environment, teaching and learning environment, the research environment, really increase the experience of users. And we want to mention the enablement for research. I talked about that earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for questions, but let me go through here really quickly some answers that I know I've had in the past, or questions that I've gotten in the past. We are going to be doing a major reorganization of the central IT unit. That should be happening in the next month or two. You'll hear more about that. I'd be happy to come back and speak to the changes that we're making there. With the strategic plan, we're going to have roadmaps identified. We're going to talk about what we need to focus on in a new ERP environment, in a new data warehouse, data business intelligence environment. We need to figure out how we better use our dollars. A lot of people are saying, Gary, you need more money, you need more people. Well, I'm not convinced of that. I'm not sure we're using the resources we have to test the fact. So we need to go through and really figure out how we can do that. Alignment with the strategic plan, institutional strategic plan, increase accountability, governance. Career ladders is really how we start doing professional development for staff, give them ability to grow within their positions, and let them develop so that they can be successful. So with that, I'm going to open to questions with what? I have 2 minutes left. Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any questions?
I talked very quickly there, so I apologize. I just wanted to make sure I got through all the content. I will share the most recent version of this plan. I did share it with Victor, the 60% version. I haven't shared the updated plan because we're in the process of finishing that after our IT conversation. That should be available in the next 2 weeks or so, and then we'll share that with you.
All right. With that, are there any questions for our speaker?
Yes.
Vice President
Dr.
Pitts.
Pratt, thank you for coming to speak. It's always interesting to hear about IT. How much, as you begin to form this roadmap and these changes that IT will be doing in the next 3 years, will you have student input within that? Will you be working with Victor? And how are you going to use, that customer input to ensure that it's all streamlined?
Absolutely, and I can tell you input from every constituent, students, staff, and faculty, as well as outside community, because we do support there as well, and groups like that. Just to let you know that we've already started that with the information gathering in the Q&A set, or in the information gathering where we had the interviews. We actually had Jordan and your past student body president participate in the interview. We did a number of student focus groups, and a lot of students participated in the web survey. I expect that to continue. When we start moving forward, I want to come talk to you on a regular basis when you have a question. I want to be able to engage with Victor's committee. That really is the best place to get engaged immediately, but we need to figure out how best to get input from students at large. That one's a little harder to answer for me. So.
Cool, thanks.
Oh, let me say, there's one other group. They just created a student advisory group for the strategic enrollment management, and a number of you are on that group, and a lot of what they're going to be dealing with is technology-related issues.
Cool, thank you.
All right. Further questions? All right. If not, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Out to me, it's gpratt@ksu.edu if you want to have one-on-one conversations, or if you need me to come be more focused on any of these areas that we have. Thank you.
All right. Our next open period speaker this evening will be Derek Jackson, our Assistant Vice President of Student Life and Director of Housing and Dining Services.
My plan is not to take near as long, so but I'm willing to come back. So originally when I scheduled my time to come and speak, I was going to talk about the Derby Dining Center renovation, and I would love to come back probably early in the spring semester in January to give you an update, as well as to listen and kind of get some feedback as well. We've begun the design for Derby. We've had some opportunities to engage with our architects. They were here yesterday. They've been here a couple weeks ago. We've met with some students, had some student focus groups. So I would love to continue the engagement with our students on what the future of Derby might look like and kind of the priorities of things to keep, things to change. So when I come back in January, but I'm going to use my time to talk a little bit about Ford Hall mold to give you an update. So last time I was here, I spoke about our top to bottom investigation and evaluation of where there may have been some mold and how we mitigated it and how we did as far as solution to solve the problem and what we found. And then we did air sampling. So I wanted to kind of give you a report of what we found. So the state of Kansas came in and we did not quite 100 individual air samples in student rooms as well as in hallways as well as outside to give you a baseline of what goes on in the world. Mold is in this room today. We just don't know how much is in here normally. So we did a baseline of what was outside on the day that we did the samples. And of all the locations that we sampled, every location except for 4 came in under what was outside, which I think that's a good sign in the sense of as we did our job of to remove whatever mold, which all the mold that we did find was inactive, meaning it was no longer growing and no longer putting out mold spores into the environment. And as we progressed through that, when the state finalizes their formal report, it's going to show that Ford Hall does not have a mold issue. Over fall break, we did go back to those 4 rooms that we found a higher level, slightly higher than normal location, to investigate why was there higher than normal mold investigation. One of the rooms we went back to had been empty for a few weeks, meaning that maybe it was slightly above outside air when we sampled outside. And then, so we went back and looked, investigated, didn't see any visible mold, inspected, did another air sample, it came in under again. One of the rooms we went into, we found a very rotten, moldy pumpkin, spewing mold. If you can think about a residence hall room where you leave something laying around that is needs to be thrown away, you can imagine it being, we found another moldy plant that had water in the base, and the plant was dead and was obviously growing something. So as we investigated, we did find a couple of rooms that we needed to go back in and do some mitigation and look forward to find out where we were seeing mold that we weren't seeing. In every situation, all those 4 rooms, we've now dropped it down below outside normal air counts. So that's the good news. The other thing that I want to share is that in this world, I mean, things happen. I mean, you got to figure out how to do better in the future. And so there's a company that reached out to us and said, hey, I think we have something that might help you. And so I said, sure, I want to learn. This company approached us, and this is a company that specializes in creating environments in ICU units or laboratory spaces of sterilizing air, viruses, bacteria, mold, growing organisms that are floating in this air right now, that they have a system that reduces up to like 95, 98% reduction of those viruses, bacteria, mold spores, things that are growing. On Tuesday, that company came out, and we have 9 locations we're doing a test. It's a very expensive system, but I think it has a broad application in locker room space, health center space, residence hall space, laboratory space. So we're doing a pilot with 9 locations around campus where we did a baseline test. We're going to do a 7-day count, 14-day count, and 30-day count to see what the reduction is and what the potential application of a system that can be deployed either in portable units or inline HVAC systems that would give us you can't get a perfect environment free of all those things, but you can reduce the count significantly with this system. This is relatively new technology. What's interesting about this company, they've done most of their work in laboratories, in food preparation places like Pepsi, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, places that are doing mass food production that needs to be more sanitary than just normal. They have approached us to say, we think this is a market for us. Residence hall space, hotel spaces, classroom spaces, we think this is a good opportunity. So they're actually interested in us being part of their baseline study. And in that, we may be able to be a partner in the research, and our benefit is that we may not have to pay full value of this product as we investigate it. So I'm excited about that. Bad things happen, and I say bad things. Things happen in life, and you got to figure out how you're going to do better at. And I'm really excited, and I think, come January, I'll have 7, 14, and 30-day evaluations of those spaces that we worked into. The future's there. It isn't cheap, but it is a system that I think does make things safer for our students, faculty, and staff if it plays out the way it's supposed to. Anyway, I'll take questions.
All right, with that, are there any questions for our speaker?
Yeah.
Vice President Pitts?
I have more questions about the DERB renovation.
Okay.
Going to talk about
Sure,
that?
yeah.
When will that be happening? Like, when will it be fully renovated? Do you know?
Well, I'll tell you when we'll start.
Okay.
And so our plan is to start this summer on the actual renovation. So we're in the beginning design phase. 3 weeks ago, I went to the state with Diana Hutchinson to ask for permission to bring on a contractor in the beginning of design, which is it's a step that the state makes you jump through. Typically, they do low bid, and you do your design, and then you open the bids, and then you figure out who your partner is to do the renovation. This is very complex. To be able to keep part of Derby open and renovate as you move through, and be able to keep students safe and food safe and delivery of the food. So our goal is to start in June, and we have a 9-month as well as a 12-month potential path. Depends on how aggressive we go. The goal would be, by the second year, we will have the new DERB open, but students would see the new DERB as it evolves. So we would phase it and stage it as we move around. The DERB is kind of 4 quadrants that we could do. That's our concept at the moment. So not a great answer because I don't have exactly how this is going to evolve. If you were to look at the building, our thought is that we would start the renovation of what I call the front half. So if you're between West and Ford, I consider that the front. That's much more of a public perspective and more, we're going to put an addition to the building. So you would approach between Derby and Ford with more of a visual place with a little more volume. And that's our goal is to hit that first. That's our concepts until we get a builder in here to say, nope, we can't do it that way. We need to do it this way. So that's why we're bringing the contractor into the project as we start the design, because they'll look at the feasibility of how to build it out in a safe manner.
All right, further questions for our speaker? Chair Spellman?
The company doing the air sterilizations, which one is that?
Synexus. Yep. It's a company out of Kansas City. So I had a chance to meet with the creator of the company. West Point bioengineer working on the military biodefense. Retired, said, hey, I could go into the defense side, I could protect people on the defense side, but I think there's an application on the corporate side where I can keep corporate entities safer than what they are now. And he kind of tells the story is that he really didn't have a market until the anthrax stuff started coming around. And people were like, oh, wait a second, there's a need. He created this company and this patented, it's a proprietary system that creates kind of an envelope of air that's sanitizing mold and viruses and bacteria. And they send it airborne that's safe for humans. It's not ozone. It's not some of the things that you hear about air sanitization. It's safe for humans. They use it in hospitals now. They've been out in the market for almost 6 years. They've been in, like a PepsiCo is their long-term vendor. They've been there for 5 years. A lot of the other environments, the hospital environments. And they're excited. And anyway, so I'm like, how did you end up in Kansas? So they're in Kansas City. They look for a CEO to lead the company to production. The CEO is from Kansas City, and he said, let's relocate to Kansas City. I have a brother that lives in Hutchinson, this world-famous bioterrorist engineer for worked at West Point, relocated to Kansas City. What's interesting is the CEO, the person is leading this company, his son is coming to K-State next year. So he has a personal interest in us, and that's one of the reasons that popped to his radar when it came out. So I think it's a great story of a company that has an application, I think, that's potential for us.
Further questions? Senator Orzechowski.
Yeah, what is the current process for when a student reports like mold,
right,
or like maybe any other concern?
Any kind of, so a student could go to their front desk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to report anything. My light doesn't work, I've got a biohazard on the floor, I've spilled something, right? Those are all common things. And, we have hundreds of thousands of students that live with us. They're going to have the probability of something happening is there. They can report it. Typically, our work orders are done within 2 hours. 98% of them are done within 2 hours because we have a lot of staff that are there. They're in the building. Most things are simple to fix, clean up. So when a mold comes in, we go out and inspect. Where's it at? What kind of cleaning do we need to do? And what kind of mitigation do we need to do? So those are things that we've been doing all along. This situation got much more of attention. In part because, students started looking into places that, to be honest with you, we have not looked at very often. So when you start popping the ceiling tiles up, our staff aren't always in the rooms popping every ceiling tile up looking around. We had our students helping us do that. So now we're developing a system that when we open and close buildings, that we're going to look in those locations. That we just need to, it looks good, the ceiling looks good, but we don't know what's going on above it. And that's kind of the reality of it is that we're going to do a better job of looking above and behind things. So we're learning our lessons.
Further questions? All right. If not, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Are there any more speakers for first open period? Seeing none, Senator King, if you could please come forward. We are now going to take a photo for the yearbook, and Senator King is going to walk us through that.
Yeah. Oh God, that means I need to type this. Hi everybody. So we're going to take our yearly picture for the yearbook. As many of you know, last year we had a big mistake with the picture. That is not going to happen again because I myself am going to be overseeing the placement of the picture in the yearbook, so that will not happen. So what we're going to do is we're all going to go, the square dancing team is meeting now, but our photographer just met with them and they're going to give us a space for the time to do this picture. So we're going to all go back to the foyer of the Union where the big power cat is, and then our photographer Mary Kate is going to kind of instruct you guys on where to stand, and then we'll get all your names. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're just going to go to the foyer of the Union. Yep.
All right, be there.
Yeah, you're a senator. You gotta come.
What do you think like January? I was like so like.
But it's not like two colors. Monty Boston, he has a coat that's like orange to there. Like, yeah, like 20 years ago. Yeah, 15 years ago. Guys, I literally. I got like I anything. You can turn you don't have to stay. My shoes on.
Duo Push is the easiest and fastest way to securely log into your accounts. Just enter your username and password, and Duo sends an authentication request directly to your smartphone. Tap Prove, you're in. Duo Mobile, one-touch authentication. Even if this guy over here stole your password, Duo protects your account. We'll even alert the system administrator when the request is denied. Duo Mobile, stopping credential theft in a single push.
Next December because in summer we are having elections.
Yeah, it's gonna be
not
crazy.
A good season. Yeah.
I was gonna say, when you cut the purse, it looked like you were out of here. Go. I did. I was gone.
I barely made it here. They don't understand. That's why I said, oh, picture. I definitely forgot. I tried to remind myself in the middle of the day.
I had to get dinner done before I get here. And I said, picture was wrong tonight.
I just got to complete this 4 to 8 research paper and Zoom been on a Sunday, and I just can't begin to write. I have all kinds of resources.
Oh my
I can do
goodness.
research. That's the thing, I'm not a writer. Like, I can do math, science.
That's a big deal.
We can try to figure it out together. When it comes to writing, I'll be like,
4 to 8?
Yeah.
Okay, it's 2,000 words, right?
That's 4.
That's 4 pages.
Yeah, how are you?
You know you're too long to know that.
Yeah. How was it?
I'm in my classes.
I
I still have to Google it. I'll be like, how many
pages?
That's how many papers I
Part of your
I'm trying to get out of all of it. Please, can we do something else?
caffeine I've had.
Yes. It's not even a page limit, it's a word limit. Let's give me words. It should be just what you need to have in the comment on.
So yeah, I got your messaging. My
Okay, that makes sense. I'm at 9. Did the math. No, congratulations.
So we did it last year.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes.
What's the status? So we just.
I can't. Honestly, I'll get
White page.
Yeah, yeah.
And they keep it that way.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let me know. It's gonna be like how last they said
Yeah, but they probably did look at Brad.
All right, Senator, if we can go ahead and take our seats, we're going to keep going. All right, we'll now move into approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Wilhelm. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. If there are no objections, minutes are approved. All right, we'll go ahead and move into announcements for the week. First, if you are interested in buying a yearbook and you didn't sign your EID on the form, Senator Nathan King will be here in Senate. So if you wanted a yearbook and you haven't said that you want one yet, talk to Nathan.
That's right.
Thanks, Nathan. All right. Second, our next Student Senate meeting will be on Thursday, January 31st at 7 p.m. in the Wildcat Chambers. I wish you all a fun and restful winter break. Next is proxies for the week. Brown for Spencer, Carmolly for Bowen, Kidd for Harp, Taylor for Fang, and interns Gross, Hines, and Oxner. SJ member of the week, who will be dearly missed, is parliamentarian William Moore for his commitment and dedication this semester to making Student Senate a more orderly, engaged body. So if we could give William a round of applause. All right, and the quote of the week this week in honor of Steven Hillenburg, who is the creator of SpongeBob. It finally dawned on me that if I was going to do my own show, all those things I lectured about and obsessed about would make for an interesting world. Steven Hillenburg. All right, next up on the agenda is commendations. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 26? Intern Coordinator Bothwell.
I move that we consider Resolution 26. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we consider Resolution 26. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 181926, Commendation to Class 2 of the SGA Intern Program by Nathan Bothwell and Sadie Polson. Whereas, according to the Kansas State University Student Governing Association website, the passion behind the Student Governing Association Intern Program is educating and preparing students to become future leaders across the legislative, judicial, and executive branches of SGA. Whereas, meetings for Class 2 of the 2018-2019 SGA Intern Program were held every Thursday from October 18th, 2018 until November 15th, 2018 at 5:45 p.m. in Wildcat Chamber. Whereas, meetings covered information about the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, as well as how to file or apply for office. Whereas, interns were able to listen to and ask questions of current members of SGA, including the SGA advisors, student body president, speaker of the Student Senate, and SGA Attorney General. Whereas, interns participated in activities to help them engage with various parts of SGA, including committee meetings, Senate meetings, executive branch platform brainstorming, and judicial hearings. Whereas, all students at Kansas State University were invited and welcome to attend Phase 1 intern meetings. And whereas, 19 students attended 3 out of 5 Class 2 meetings, allowing them to be eligible for the Phase 2 applications. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends Class 2 of the SGA Intern Program for their interest and commitment to serving as a 2018-2019 SGA intern. Section 2, KSU SGA commends the following members of Class 2 for attending a majority of Phase 1 meetings: Jake Adams, Shikaya Aho, Nick Beasley, Morgan Bittencourt, Cheyenne Bruner, Benjamin DeZub, Julia Howie, Peyton Kavanaugh, Marissa Lux, Reagan Nelson, Grace Palsick, Cameron Peck, Alex Roth, Reagan Stone Street, Isaac Sunderland, Matthew Swords, Zachary Terrell, Colin Thompson, Justin Watkins. Section 3, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the Student Body President, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to all SGA interns who attended a majority of Phase 1 meetings.
All right, with that, are there any questions or corrections for the author?
Can all of the interns that I just read their names stand up, please? Give them a round of applause.
All right, is there a motion on this resolution? Intern Booz.
I move to approve this resolution unanimously. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution unanimously. If there are no objections, this resolution is approved unanimously. I will now look for a motion to consider Resolution 27. Senator Marshall.
I move to consider Resolution 27.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 27. Will the author please come forward?
Okay, Resolution 18/1927, commendation to the Kansas State University crops judging team by Nils Bergson, Sarah Gammon, Julia Gross, Alan Hines, Reed Huffman, Mariah Kimsey, Reed Middleton, Sarah Neatery, Noah Oshner, Thomas Smith, Jake Wessel, and Carl Wilhelm. Whereas the Kansas State University crops judging team placed third at the 2018 Australian Universities Crops Competition in Temora, New South Wales. Whereas Trent Fry placed 8th individual overall. Whereas team members include Karen Dirkston, Kaylin Fink, Trent Fry, and Nathan Ryan. Whereas the team is coached by Kevin Donnelly, professor of agronomy, and whereas the contest included a seed identification section, 3 exams covering production of selected Australian crops, commercial grading of wheat samples, a business management problem, field yield estimates, management recommendations, and a live crop, weed, and disease evaluation component. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends the excellence of the K-State crop judging team members and appreciates the time and effort that students within the College of Agriculture put forth to show the value of their hard work in both academics and throughout the respective organizations at Kansas State University. Section 2, upon passage by Student Senate and the signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the coach of the KSU crops judging team and professor of agronomy, Kevin Donnelly, team members Karen Dirksen, Kaylin Fink, Trent Fry, and Nathan Ryan, Dean of the College of Agriculture and Director of K-State Research and Extension, Ernie Minton, and University President Richard Myers.
With that, are there any questions or corrections for the author? All right. If not, is there a motion on this resolution? Senator Wilhelm.
Move to approve this motion unanimously.
Resolution. All right. It's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution unanimously. If there are no objections, this resolution is approved unanimously. If we give them a round of applause. All right. I will now look for a motion to consider Resolution 28. Coordinator Bothwell.
I move that we consider Resolution 28. Second.
It's moved and seconded to consider Resolution 28. Will the author please come forward?
Resolution 18/1928, commendation to the Kansas State University Livestock Judging Team by Nils Bergsten, Sarah Gammon, Julia Gross, Alan Hines, Reed Huffman, Maria Kimsey, Reed Middleton, Sarah Neatery, Noah Oshner, Thomas Smith, Jake Wessel, and Carl Wilhelm. Whereas the Kansas State University Livestock Judging Team was named reserve national champions at the 113th Collegiate Livestock Judging Contest in Louisville, Kentucky. Whereas Hannah Frobose placed 4th overall individual and Peyton Dahmer placed 6th overall individual. Whereas the team was named National Champion Beef Cattle, National Champion Sheep and Goats, High Team Sheep and Goat Reasons, High Team Performance Sheep, High Team Performance Cattle, High Team in all performance classes, and 2nd High Team Oral Reasons. Whereas team members include Colton Aubacon, Cody Bowden, Kara Comstock, Peyton Dahmer, Wyatt Durst, Hannah Frobose, Cameron Hayden, Emily Holt, Dean Clark, Cody LaFrance, Shane Myers, Jacob Pettigrew, Shiloh Shockey, and Whitney Whitaker. Whereas the team is coached by Chris Mullenix, instructor of animal science. Whereas Peyton Dahmer, Wyatt Durst, Hannah Frobose, Cameron Hayden, and Dean Clark were named All-Americans based on livestock judging success, campus and industry involvement, academic excellence, and community service. And whereas Kansas State University 5 All-American were more than double that of any other institution. Be it resolved that Section 1, Kansas State University Student Governing Association commends the excellence of the Kansas State University Livestock Judging Team members and appreciates the time and effort that students within the College of Agriculture put forth to show the value of their hard work in both academics and throughout their respective organizations at Kansas State University. Section 2, upon passage by the Student Senate and signature of the student body president, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the coach of Kansas State University Livestock Judging Team and instructor of animal sciences, Chris Mullenix. Team members Colton Aubacon, Cody Bowden, Kara Comstock, Peyton Dahmer, Wyatt Durst, Hannah Frobose, Cameron Hayden, Emily Holt, Dean Clark, Cody LaFrance, Shane Myers, Jacob Pettigrew, Shiloh Shockey and Whitney Whitaker, Dean of the College of Agriculture and Director of K-State Research and Extension, Ernie Minton, and University President Richard Myers.
All right, with that, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Seeing none, is there a motion on this resolution? Caucus Leader Heatherman.
I move to approve this resolution unanimously.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution unanimously. If there are no objections, this resolution is approved unanimously. If we could give them a round of applause. All right, we'll now move into committee reports. Are there any committee chairs who would like to give a report? Seeing none, are there any directors' reports? Attorney General Moyer.
Well, like I said, I'm Peter Moyer. I'm just going to try and apply to Chicago to official. Yeah, you're good. All right, so I'm just going to. It's a little bit of a learning curve. So just an outline. We're going to go through who's on it, what the boards we have, our jurisdiction, and how our process exists. The leadership positions. I'm the one who could be here tonight, as you can probably tell, but this is the rest of our leadership team. So our primary board, where most of our work gets done, is the Student Review Board, which for some people it helps to process, or when you think about it like a court. There's 5 students, and they'll hear a code of conduct complaint. So that could be like something like drinking, and then they'll go to the student board. We'll hear the respondent, which is the student in violation, come tell their side of the story. We'll hear it, then depending on how it goes, decide if they're in violation or not, and then decide upon an appropriate sanction. And they're always educationally based, so it can be something like an alcohol reflection module, like the one you do at the start of the year, but a little more intense. Or if the student is showing that they're a serious concern for campus, maybe they can no longer be on campus. So that would never happen with alcohol. It'd have to really be elevated, something like repeated theft. This is the code of conduct I was mentioning about. There's 22 different line items. Some of them are kind of antiquated, where they mention faxes, but we're getting there. So these are the 3 we see most common: theft, alcohol, and drug usage. It happens at tailgates. That's kind of where we see the most. Probably 90% of what we see comes from the tailgating experience. The student tribunals are our appellate board, so they hear the appeals that can come from a lot of different places, like parking citations appeals. When you lose your parking pass, it goes to the tribunal. When you have a case at the Student Review Board and you think the process didn't go correctly, you can bring it here. And then there are some different methods to the Elections Committee, the Elections Commissioner. Their decisions can be brought here also. They additionally try bills of impeachment if that would somehow ever happen. That's where that would occur after the Senate Ops Chair gets that started. And they can interpret governing documents like the Constitution, bylaws, or specific statutes. Parking Citations Appeals Board. We're not really connected to parking. Parking exists somewhere in judicial, and we don't really interact with them. That's a conscious decision by both of us. We think we function better with some separation between us. We point their members, and we help them with their documents because they don't really take the initiative to do that. Where do we go? On-campus or campus-sponsored events. We don't do Greek life. See bold. And then a campus-sponsored event is like if you would travel in a club with your advisor to a location. If you would violate the code of conduct there, you would still be held accountable back home at K-State if that would happen off campus. We only hear code of conduct complaints. We don't hear things that come from our policy procedural manuals for harassment and threatening behavior. Those cover a lot of really important things that don't come to us, and I'll go over that really quickly. So threatening behavior is handled outside of PPM 3010, 3015. That goes to administrators, HR, or student-elect, depending on who is committing the threatening behavior. There's also PPM 3010 that handles discrimination and harassment. And those go to the Office of Institutional Equity, and both of those processes are Title IX compliant. How does it work? Just the last thing I've got. When that process starts, we decide jurisdiction 72 hours before the hearing. We give the student a 72-hour notice to make sure they can figure out the scheduling and be there. The initial hearing occurs, or it's handled administratively, which is an option available to students to choose which one they want to have. The decision from that process is sent out 48 hours from the end of it if we need to gather more information or bring them back again. The student has 3 class days to write an appeal to the Attorney General. and then the tribunal hearing is held if they write their appeal. And after the tribunal hearing, that's the final action. There's no other way to appeal it past there. And that's all I have. Questions?
All right, are there any questions for our Attorney General? Senator Brown.
So if a student gets in trouble or like with K-State police or something, or who reports to you that like people do bad things, I guess?
The K-State police do.
Okay.
And also a lot of RAs and individual students can do that. Like with the smoking policy, those reports come from individual students.
Further questions? Treasurer Martin.
What's the punishment for violating the smoking policy in general?
We're not, that's kind of a hit and miss thing. We're going to have our first case for that soonish, so I'll let you know.
All right, further questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, Peter. Are there any more director's reports? Director Boyd.
Hey y'all. All right, so I'm gonna go over some stuff about the Cat's Cupboard, which has been kind of my main focus throughout the semester over a couple different things. The first big area of that has been finding long-term sustainable funding for the Cat's Cupboard. If you don't know, currently they're under SCTE funding, which means that they got the startup funding, which lasted 3 years, that runs out after next year. So right now we've been looking at options. I've been on a committee that's been talking with the K-State Foundation. Fortunately, they are going to help us out a lot. They've opened an account specifically for the Cat's Cupboard, and they're going to be fundraising for that. On the end of each of their asks, they're going to add a little upgrade thing, which is going to allow for people, say, I don't know if you ever shopped online, but like maybe sometimes it's like, hey, add this to the cart. Well, it's kind of that, but over the phone. And so a couple other things as well. They're looking for enough funding to hopefully get an endowment, which will provide hopefully $40,000 to $80,000 a year of income sustainably for as long as they need it. So basically, that's a big thing as well. Additionally, so under current SCTE funding, they can only use that money towards students. And so they recently got a $25,000 grant to serve staff and faculty as well. So now staff and faculty will be able to get the support they need from the Cat's Cupboard, which is super important. So let me see my notes. Additionally, so if you're in the residence halls, at the end of each semester, often the residence halls will have an ability for you to donate unopened food that you have left over. So if you have any snacks, if you have, I don't know, like mac and cheese or whatever you may microwave or something like that, you'll be able to donate at the end. So they've worked on making sure that that's not going to be the mess that it was past years where people donated a bunch of half-eaten food or all this stuff that they had to throw away. So that's going to be happening at the end of this semester. Additionally, they got a parking space for the Cat's Cupboard. So if you have donations or you need to use the services, they have a parking space right outside there on the other side of Anderson Hall. There's a little sign, so you'll see it. Let me see. Oh, and another thing. I've been working with some people in one of my Lead 405 classes, and we've been talking to some of the RAs across campus to help them understand how to identify food insecurity in their students and how to have those conversations with them about what the services they can use. So that's something we're looking into, and other advocacy options to try to increase the ability for more students to hear about and how to use the services here on campus. So that's all I got. I stand for questions.
Any questions for our speaker? Senator Brown?
Is that grant that is used for faculty, is that solely for faculty?
Yeah.
Do we know, is there a large need on campus? Is that something they looked into that's needed for faculty and staff?
Yeah, actually other universities, often it's over 50% of those that use the services like the Cat's Cupboard are staff and faculty. So they assume that there's that need. In fact, they've had staff and faculty stop by and they've had to turn them away, unfortunately. So this will change that.
Further questions? All right, seeing none, are there any more directors who would like to give a report? Treasurer Martin.
Oh, here we go. Is that up there? Sweet. I don't have to log in. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Martin. I'm the SGA treasurer, and I just wanted to give a quick update on the SGA budget, as well as hopefully clear up like exactly what goes into the SGA budget and how all of the processes work to allocate the funding that goes to the Student Governing Association. So the process is really similar to any other privilege fee entity. Prior to the 2017 to 2018 academic year, the Student Governing Association received their privilege fee allocation as a part of OSAS, which was the former name of CSI, their privilege fee. And then as a measure to increase the transparency for the student body, the Privilege Fee Committee moved SGA to its own privilege fee, and that was Bill 1617-106. And it's going to be reviewed next year by the Privilege Fee Committee. And two of the line items, the scholarships and compensation line items of the budget, are set by a separate committee called JCOC, which stands for the Joint Committee on Officer Compensation, that reports a recommendation to Senate before the SGA privilege fee is approved. And to go a little bit more into what JCOC does, this is a committee that's chaired by a faculty member that's appointed by the Vice President of Student Life. Other members include 3 students that are appointed by the Student Body President, the Speaker of the Student Senate, as well as the Attorney General, and then 2 senators that are elected by this body, the Student Senate. And then the Director of CSI also serves as an ex officio member. The committee gathers compensation data from other schools that are comparable to Kansas State, as well as other Big 12 member schools, and they interview past office holders to learn about their duties and time commitments related to their positions. And then finally, they submit a report and recommendation to Student Senate to approve or disapprove. And so staying in cadence with the privilege fee cycle, JCOC meets next year to set the compensation for the 3 years following. And then their compensation recommendations, if approved by the Student Senate, will then go into the privilege fee agreement that goes for the Student Governing Association. And just to kind of be as transparent as possible about the officer compensation, because I had heard some concerns about this. This is directly from the JCOC report. So all of these numbers are accurate. So this year we are in fiscal year 19. So all of the numbers in that fiscal year 19 column are the amounts of money that the people in these various positions are receiving as compensation for their time and efforts working for the Student Governing Association. And at the end, I can go back to this slide if you guys want to look at it longer, or if anyone at all wants to see this presentation, I can send it as well. So then going into the current state of the budget, right now our scholarships are exactly half of what they were before because we haven't allocated out the scholarships for next semester. Compensation, we haven't used quite half, but again, this semester isn't quite over. And then there's budgets for each of the branches to use for projects within their own branch. So the executive branch, legislative branch, and judicial branch. And so we haven't used a lot, but that's kind of typical for the fall semester. A lot of the programming that SGA does is really geared towards the spring semester. Travel is interesting. The current balance is always greater than the budgeted for the most part because from year to year, anytime that there's excesses in the overall budget for the Student Governing Association, it rolls over and like the excess budget goes into travel. That's mainly because travel can have the largest variance in cost depending on when and where you buy tickets to like for plane tickets to go to Big 12 on the Hill. It can change a lot on how much those tickets are going to cost. And then the intern program also has a budget as well as promotions. And again, because SGA week happens in the spring as well as elections happen in the spring, promotions budget almost gets used exclusively in the spring. The elections portion is specifically for election software to hold SGA's elections. There's money allocated for the banquet as well as discretionary money throughout the semester. And I now stand for any questions.
Could you go back to that last slide?
Yeah.
Are there any questions for Treasurer Martin? Yeah, we'll go ahead and send this out to SGA as well if you all would like to take a look at it. All right, if there are no questions, are there any more directors who would like to give a report? Speaker Pro Tempore Arnoldi.
All right, so I'm here to give a report on Diversity Programming Committee. We finished up our third quarter of allocations. We reviewed 7 projects, and our total allocation from this quarter was $53,000, $594.07, which means we're going into our final quarter in the spring with $80,000 approximately left in our budget, a little bit more than that. So we allocated 4 out of the 7 projects that we reviewed, which was to BSU, Sexuality and Gender Alliance, the Chinese Students and Scholars Association, and the Sri Lankan Student Association. So I can go into more details if you'd like, otherwise I'll just wait for questions.
All right, with that, are there any questions for our speaker? Attorney General Moyer.
Can you briefly describe those 4 events?
Yeah, so just as kind of a general, events that go through Diversity Programming Committee have the requirement that they have to have over $3,000 for their event. They all happen on campus and they're all open to all K-State students. So the Black Student Union requested a speaker for their event for Black History Month. So that's what that will be taking place in the Student Union on February 12th. Sexuality and Gender Alliance requested funds for the K-State Drag Show, which is happening on February 8th in McCain Auditorium. The Chinese Students and Scholars Association requested funds for a Spring Festival Gala evening, which is taking place in McCain as well on February 4th. And the Sri Lankan Student Association is doing a Sri Lankan cultural show and workshop on March 2nd in K-State Union.
All right, further questions? All right, if not, are there any more?
Sorry, I did have one more thing to add. I was just going to say, to put on your radar, Vedant and I have met. He's helping as well as student engagement to plan SGA week for the spring. And because the dates for elections are based on spring break, and spring break is a week early, a lot of things have been pushed up pretty soon. So SGA week is going to be the second week that we get back from spring semester, and that's January 28th to February 1st. There'll be more details on that coming out later about how you guys can participate and how we can help with that, but I just want to put it on your radar.
All right. Are there any more directors who'd like to give a report? Vice President Pitts.
All right, I will try to keep this brief. But if any of you are wondering where Jordan and Miranda are this evening, they are at the Midwestern Higher Education Compact Conference talking about affordable options for textbooks and other educational resources. So they're getting lots of ideas and presenting and learning from one another. So hopefully they'll come back with plenty of new initiatives to work on. And then it is the last Senate of the semester, and as Ryan said, I hope you all have a very restful winter break and come back motivated
to, create some change next semester. We will have a little bit shorter term this year, but you will have time until first week of April? How long is it? Yeah. So you have till the first week of April to put forth legislation, to start a committee, to work on things that you really believe in, and maybe not start a committee, sorry, speaker, but to work on things and really create the change that you'd like to see here on campus during your time as a senator. Good luck on your finals, and don't forget about the valuable K-State resources, which we all have to serve here on campus for students. That includes the new study spots. So while Hale Library is being renovated after the fire this summer, we are working on improving study spots here in the Union. So you can go study in the booths and everything like that we've had all semester, but they're also working on opening up the ballroom upstairs to provide more study spaces during Dead Week and Syllabus Week in these next couple weeks as you study. So be on the lookout for that, for announcements. We've also posted more about study spots on our Twitter at SBP, SBVP, and so have a great winter break and good luck in your finals, and I'll stand for questions.
All right, are there any questions for Vice President Pitts?
Awesome.
All right, if not, are there any more directors who would like to give a report? All right, seeing none, we'll now move into approval of minor allocations. Bill 39 is a travel allocation to K-State First. They requested $200 and were recommended $200. Bill 40 is a travel allocation to Results. They requested $200 and were also recommended $200. Bill 41 is a travel allocation to Institute of Industrial Systems Engineers. They requested $300 and were recommended $300. Are there any questions on the minor allocations? All right, if not, is there a motion to approve? Senator Wilhelm.
I move to approve the minor allocations. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minor allocations. If there are no objections, the minor allocations are approved. We will now move into final action. Will the author of Bill 42 please come forward? Have any changes been made?
Yeah, they're all made. It's all good. We're good.
Could you speak to maybe some of the changes?
We fixed more words. Really, they were all really minor corrections, so not very different from what it was last week.
All right, with that, are there any questions on the corrections? Okay, if not, first right to debate.
Yeah, pretty easy. We're just updating the Constitution. Go ahead and vote yes.
Are there any questions for the speaker? All right. Seeing none, is there any further debate on Bill 42? If not, we'll move into a roll call vote on Bill 42.
Adams?
Yes.
Albers?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Arnaldi?
Yes.
Belk? Bergston?
Yes.
Bothwell?
Yes.
Bowen? Brown?
Yes.
Carpenter?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
DeMoranville?
Yes.
Dunfield?
Yes.
Esses?
Yes.
Fang? Gammon?
Yes.
Gillian King?
Yes.
Grover?
Yes.
Gupta? Hammond?
Yes.
Harp? Heatherman?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Huffman?
Yes.
Jabin?
Yes.
Carmali?
Yes.
Kidd? King?
Yes.
Kulkarni?
Yes.
Leverett?
Yes.
Mari?
Yes.
Marshall? Morgan?
Yes.
Neatery?
Yes.
Orth?
Yes.
Orzakowski?
Yes.
Pelton?
Yes.
Penny? Riffle?
Yes.
Roman?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Spellman?
Yes.
Spencer?
Yes by proxy.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tile? Taylor? Thompson? Chumland?
Yes.
Wessel?
Yes.
Wilhelm?
Yes.
Whitmer?
Aye.
And Yogunadon. Okay, is there anyone I missed?
Yes.
Jansen, yes. All right, Bill 18-1942 passes 43 to 0 to 0.
All right, we'll now move to Bill 43. Will the author please come forward? Have any corrections been made?
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so the changes include we added 3 people to Section 2, the membership of the committee. Those people are Shelby Carpenter, Creighton Glasscock, and Alan Hines. And then we also removed 1 voting member just for time commitment reasons. And then also Section 4, it's incorrect on here, but special committee on membership in Section 4 will be capitalized, and intern coordinators will be removed because we added Joshua Arnoldi as a non-voting ex officio member as well. So they'll just serve as the following non-voting ex officio members.
All right, are there any questions on the corrections? All right, if not, you have first right to debate.
Cool. So this is just kind of the same as last week. Looking at the whereas clauses, we see that it's necessary to continually review and evaluate and create policies regarding K-State or Kansas State University Student Governing Association, Student Senate membership, and representation. And the committee wants to kind of go off past year recommendations on how to best do this. So looking at how to evaluate and create policies to address these ongoing systemic issues, and then also looking and evaluating how the intern program might be able to be tweaked and changed, since this is the first year of the KSU SGA intern program, so that it can effectively meet its intended goals. And then, yeah, so we met informally last week just to kind of get the ball rolling. We're going to meet next Monday as well at 7. And again, anyone is welcome, and I welcome more people to come than just the voting members on the committee, so we can get as many voices as possible. And yeah, that's all.
All right, questions for the speaker? Senator Whitmer.
Could you just go into detail about what systemic issues you foresee the committee dealing with?
Yeah, so the last couple of years there has, because of a former special committee on membership, there is the demographic survey that is taken of the Student Senate. So we're working on that so that K-State, or our Student Senate, isn't representative of demographics of K-State as a whole. So we're kind of looking at how we can change that and improve that. And so what we've talked about in the first thing, or the first informal meeting to get the ideas rolling, looking at, again, the intern program, and then also Senate engagement and the Senate Engagement Committee, and how we can look at those policies and what Senate engagement as a committee is doing, and what the special committee that has existed for, has existed in a new form for the last 3 years can do. And then what the direct communications director position can also help do to create outreach programs to just improve getting SGA's mission out so that we can improve our representation.
Follow up?
Granted.
So, just curious, do you have any ideas on hand about how you might go forward with that?
Yeah, so specifically when it comes to the intern program, there are a couple things that we've talked about. So one, improving outreach, creating that outreach position, or also just kind of defining the role of the communications director, and also how the cap of 35 interns might change or not, and if it does change, how we can adapt and what needs to be changed SGA policy-wise for that, and then also the application process. But then also how the intern program functions, and whether it's serving all students and that kind of thing. But we just want to discuss these points and see if they are working effectively now or if we can change it. And then when it comes to the committee outreach, specifically things that we've talked about, like tabling and how we can effectively table, or how we can get student senators and SGA members involved in these efforts routinely throughout the semester, so that the membership of SGA is involved and other students see that and see that dedication and want to be involved as well.
Further questions? All right. If not, is there any more debate on this bill? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote on Bill 43.
Adams?
Yes.
Albers?
Yes.
Armstrong?
Yes.
Arnoldi?
Yes.
Belk? Bergston?
Yes.
Bothwell,
Yes.
Bowen, Brown, Carpenter,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
DeMoranville,
Yes.
Dunfield, Esses,
Yes.
Fang, Gammon,
Yes.
Gillian King,
Yes.
Grover,
Yes.
Gupta, Hammond,
Yes.
Harp, Heatherman,
Yes.
Alec Hildreth,
Yes.
Derek Hildreth,
Yes.
Huffman,
Yes.
Jabin,
Yes.
Karamali,
Yes.
Kidd, King,
Yes.
Kulkarni,
Yes.
Leverett,
Yes.
Mari,
Yes.
Marshall, Morgan,
Yes.
Neatery,
Yes.
Orth, Orzakowski,
Yes.
Pelton,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Riffle,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Spellman,
Yes.
Spencer, Sullivan,
Yes.
Tile, Taylor, Thompson,
Yes.
Chumlin,
Yes.
Wessel,
Yes.
Wilhelm,
Yes.
Whitmer,
Yes.
and Yogunadon. Is there anyone I missed? Okay, it passes 41-0.
All right, we'll now move into introduction of legislation. Is there a motion to consider Resolution 29? Senator Wilhelm?
Move resolution 29.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Resolution 29. Senator Albers?
I move that the author be allowed to summarize.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. The author be allowed to summarize. If there are no objections, you may summarize.
It's up here, isn't it? All right, I will try to make this quick. So as Student Body Vice President, I serve as the chair of the Educational Opportunity Fund Committee. So we take proposals by different entities on campus which serve student needs and kind of look at them and decide the amounts of money that they should get based on what they propose. And this uses about 1% to 2% of the overall student tuition dollars, which comes out to about $360. So we took their proposals and voted and looked at the need of that and if it was really imperative to fund them, and then took it to the committee. So some of them had, if you'll look on this, they asked for a little bit more money. Some of that was for 12-year graduate assistant programs, and we cut it down to 12-month graduate assistant programs, and we cut it down to 9-month, just based on the lower amount of money that we have this year and our efforts to remain efficient with student dollars. So I will go through and read what each entity got, and if you have questions, you can ask me after I'm finished. It might take a little bit. There's 29. So the Graduate Assistant Program for the International Student Center will be receiving $9,890. Oh gosh, it's gonna take a while. International Student Scholarships for the International Student Center will take $5,600. Graduate Research Assistant in the Office of Student Life will be $9,890. The Office of Institutional Equity will receive $0. The Graduate Research Assistant in the CARE office will receive $9,890. The services to students with cognitive disabilities through the Student Access Center will be $9,890. These next 4 proposals will be with Student Access Center, so I'll read off the titles but not the office. Services to students with mobility impairments, sensory impairments, and chronic health condition will be $9,890. Scholarships to students with cognitive disabilities will be $5,600. Educational evaluations for underrepresented students who have or likely have learning disabilities will be a flat $6,000. Scholarships to students with mobility impairments, sensory impairments, and chronic health conditions will be $4,200. The Department of Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health Office through the College of Human Ecology with the Guatemala Education Abroad Scholarship will not receive anything. The Graduate Assistant Program through the Developing Scholars Program will receive $9,890. The Graduate Assistant position through the Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Inquiry will receive $9,890. The Joey Lee Garman Undergraduate Scholarship under the Undergraduate Studies for Community and Cultural Harmony will receive $3,500. The Developing Scholars Supplemental Funding for mini grants will be $3,000. Staley School of Leadership Studies student salaries for public and community service programming will not receive any dollars. The graduate assistant position in peer education through K-State First will receive $9,890. Undergraduate positions in the Office of Diversity will receive $7,680. And I have a note on that. Office name has changed to Diversity and Multicultural Student Affairs, and they had several accounts that were different, and so it looks a little bit different on the legislation, but I'm working with Amy Lee, our accountant, right now to change those accounts and clear it up, but they are receiving all the money that they proposed for. Holtz Hall Tutoring Center student salaries through the university-wide tutoring service with Academic Achievement Center will receive $75,110. The continued development of a sustainable recruitment and retention plan for college-bound students of color and first-generation students through the Center for Student and Professional Services with College of Ed will receive $16,666. The support services for multicultural students in academic transition program through the Academic Achievement Center will receive $9,890. I have 8 more to go. You can hold on. Graduate research assistant through non-traditional and veteran student services will receive $12,890. The graduate assistant program through the Office of Multicultural Student Organizations will receive $9,890. Graduate assistant position for Holtz Hall tutoring through the Academic Achievement Center will get $9,890. The support for first generation students' engagement and success on closing the achievement gap with a graduate assistant program through First Scholars will receive $9,890. Graduate assistant program through the Academic Achievement Center will receive $9,890. Needs-based scholarships for full-time and part-time non-traditional undergraduate students through non-traditional and veteran student services will again receive $9,890. Even though that's written wrong there, I need to change it. And then childcare subsidies for student parents, ChildShips, Center for Student Involvement. This is really a huge reason why EOF was created. We'll be receiving $100,904. And finally, the graduate research assistant for a safe zone through counseling services will receive $9,890. So as you heard, many of these are through graduate assistant programs, which will go to help those offices in helping students and having someone there to assist students in need. So some of these are a little bit not quite along the lines based on some changes this last year, but they should be all fixed by the next form of legislation. Thanks,
right.
guys.
Any questions for Vice President Pitts? Senator Cole.
Yeah, it's the fourth one. It's the student salaries for graduate student positions through the Office of Institutional Equity. What was the reasoning behind that being $0 for fiscal year 20?
Sure. So the Office of Institutional Equity is really similar to an office like K-State PD, and they're kind of, it's a responsibility of the university to serve students through that. So through EOF, if K-State Police came to us and asked for money, we probably want to fund that because it's more a responsibility of the university and not of student dollars to fund that. It's more like it's kind of their responsibility so much as students not wanting to like give their dollars to that certain entity. So we decided not to do that and ask them to look for asking for funding from the university itself and finding other sources to do that from. I don't know if that's really clear. I talked to Heather a lot about it, and
sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had a pretty long talk about it, something I struggled with, but she had said that really we should feel okay with it, something the whole committee agreed on, that we decided to not give them any money and that money could be used more efficiently elsewhere. Thanks, Joe.
Further questions for the speaker? All right, seeing none.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. I will now look for a motion to consider Bill 44. Chair Kulkarni.
I move that we consider Bill 44.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 44. Will the author please come forward? Caucus Leader Heatherman.
I move to allow the author to summarize.
It's been moved and seconded to allow the author to summarize. If there are no objections, you may summarize.
Sweet. So the decrease of the Union Program Council privilege fee by the Privilege Fee Committee Whereas Union Program Council, UPC, adds value to the student life experience of Kansas State University through diverse events and programming throughout the year. Whereas in 2017-18, UPC put on 189 events with 53,509 attendees at their events, which include students, faculty, staff, and community members. Whereas in 2017-18, 61% of UPC events were in collaboration with other campus organizations, whereas UPC puts on weekly after-hours events that take place on Friday nights, with some exceptions due to fall, winter, and spring breaks, that provide substance-free entertainment for students. Whereas Privilege Fee Committee analyzed the relationships between the number of attendees at events and their respective budgets, whereas Privilege Fee Committee encourages UPC to budget their money in a way that prioritizes total student body impact over intra-organizational leadership budgets, including the executive budget and food budget. Whereas Privilege Fee Committee feels a reduction of events would not inhibit UPC to fulfill their mission in providing students with fun, quality, and safe entertainment. And whereas the Privilege Fee Committee feels that a decrease of 2% will not inhibit UPC's ability to produce diverse and quality events to the student body. And then what follows under the be it enacted that is the actual contract that will be signed between the committee and then a lot of other people as well, and that will be enacted during the summer. So if you look under section 1, line 1, they will now be funded with this document $207,000, and that is a decrease of 2%, which is about $4,220 of a decrease.
All right, with that, are there any questions or corrections for the author? Senator Albers.
Since UPC is funded mostly through bonds and grants that aren't, promised every year, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on the justification of why you thought a decrease was reasonable.
Yeah, and so so you mentioned some of the bonds and some of those funds that are not locked in that they get allocated towards every year. One of those is, I believe it's around $30,000 through PFA, which is Parent Family Association. No? Okay. And
Administrative.
yeah, sorry, through ed administration. Yeah.
It's $30,000 through a bond and then $10,000 through Parent Family Association.
Yes. Okay. So the $30,000 comes from administration, and the reason for that $30,000 is because at a lot of Union Program Council events that you see around campus, even though it's paid for by our privilege fees, they are like open and you don't have to swipe in to get in. And so that is kind of how administration has kind of put in their payment for faculty members, staff members, and the community to also come to those free events. And that money who comes through Parent Family Association, that is mostly funded through Bosco is the one who pushes that. And that money mainly goes into after hours, which you'll see in section 1, line 2. And so at least $59,000 of their $211,000 budget that's been the last 3 years goes to after hours, which is a certain committee in Union Program Council that puts on events every Friday nights, excluding some of those nights. And the main push for that is it provides safe and quality events that are substance free. And so that is a push by Dr. Bosco, and so that's why you'll see on section 1, number 2, that money is allocated out there. So, so you talk about the future of some of those funds, and that is a concern that Union Program Council had because that $30,000 and $10,000 is not locked in every year like the privilege fee money is locked in. So they are uncertain about the $30,000 coming from administration, if that will be coming here for the next 3 years, and as well, they don't know for sure about that $10,000 either. As for the committee and the debate that we had, we still thought from looking at all their budget and going over their finances, the majority of the committee saw that would not be an issue and still applying a 2% decrease.
All right, further questions for the author? Intern Booz.
To follow up on that question a little bit, does the committee believe that UPC budgets their money in a way that they spend too much on inter-organizational leadership events?
Yeah, and I will answer that. Andrew, I think a lot of that, if I don't know if it is in here, it's definitely in the minutes. in the privilege fee minutes at least, this was not a unanimous vote for this piece of legislation. So that being said, there is mixed emotions from the committee on whether that statement is or is not correct. So what privilege fee does is the majority vote for this piece of legislation was a 2% decrease to Union Program Council, and that is how we write the legislation, and that's how it's brought before Senate. So we will have the opportunity at the end of January, if this is referred back to privilege fee, to actually debate that, and even people who are on privilege fee who have both stances on this can come up and make that claim.
Thank you.
Further questions? Chair Spellman.
With the decrease of 2%, how much money does each student save?
Yeah, I don't know that number off the top of my head. Do you know?
I believe it's 5 cents.
Yeah, it is under 10 cents.
Are there any more questions for the author? All right, seeing none, we will now move into second open period. Are there any speakers for second open period? I just want to make a quick announcement. One more time, if we could give Parliamentarian Moore one last round of applause before he goes abroad. All right, if there are no more second open period speakers, we'll move to reference of legislation. Resolution 29 will be referred to the Senate Operations Committee, and Bill 44 will be referred to the Privilege Fee Committee. We'll now move into second roll call.
Adams.
Here.
Albers. Here. Armstrong.
Here.
Arnaldi.
Here.
Belk. Bergston.
Here.
Bothwell.
Here.
Bowen. Brown.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
P. Moranville.
Here.
Dunfield.
Here.
Esses.
Here.
Fang. Gammon.
Here.
Gillian King.
Here.
Grover.
Here.
Gupta. Hammond.
Here.
Hart. Heatherman.
Here.
Alec Hildreth.
Here.
Derek Hildreth.
Here.
Huffman.
Here.
Javin.
Here.
Carmali.
Here.
Kidd.
Here.
King.
Here.
Kulkarni.
Here.
Leverett.
Here.
Bari.
Here.
Marshall. Morgan. Neatery. Orth. Orzakowski. Pelton.
Here.
Penny. Porter.
Here.
Riffle. Roman.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Spellman.
Here.
Spencer. Sullivan.
Here.
Tile. Taylor. Thompson.
Here.
Chumlin.
Here.
Wessel.
Here.
Wilhelm.
Here.
Whitmer. And Yogunner done. All right, there are 43 senators present, 4 senators excused, and 7 senators absent.
How many senators?
44 present.
All right, I will now look for a motion to adjourn. Chair Bergston.
I move we adjourn to January 31st, 7 p.m. at Wildcat Chamber.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. If there are no objections, we are adjourned.